Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the Community Development Advisory Committee. It is, 4:02? Okay. We had previous minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at them? I looked through them.
Because I often use these, sometimes as part of the grant application, I went into greater detail
Yeah.
regarding the proposed projects. And
Yeah.
I was a little bit more cursory in nature with some of the other stuff.
Oh, there's Jimmy.
Look at that.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah.
Yeah. Board of Selectmen impasse.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes from January 10th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Steve Crystal, yes.
Second. All in favor?
Richi Hacker, aye.
Steve Crystal, aye.
Jeremy Olson, aye. The motion passed to accept the minutes. All right, so we're gonna go right into number 3 on our agenda is the master plan. So we'll
Woo!
turn that over.
Hi, everybody. I'm gonna set a timer for myself. I see this agenda. I'm gonna set a timer for 25 minutes, and if we're not almost done with the master plan stuff, we'll speed it up. I'm Sarah O'Brien. For everybody in the room, I'm from the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission. I work with Chris here, and I'll be lead for the update for the Warren Master Plan. And this will be the first meeting where we're going to talk about the master plan at a CDAC meeting, so it's very exciting. We kicked off officially last month with the select board, and we've been working internally on data and mapping and behind the scenes work to bolster the plan for a few months now. So it'll be exciting to bring in the community and see what comes next. So I was hoping tonight to go over first, what is a master plan? And I'm most curious about this group on how you want to use the master plan, so we could write it in a way that really works for the town. I also want to go over expectations and the timeline for the whole plan and map out what I'm expecting from every master plan meeting and what you could expect from us. And just for me, selfishly, I'd love to have a tentative date for the spring workshop that I'm expecting to be in May, so we could start planning that on our side and getting staff prepared. So we'll start with what is a master plan. I think Chris said the presentation.
I did.
Perfect. And you might have seen it at the select board meeting as well. But we're looking at a update of the master plan process that will hopefully bring consistency in decision making for the future, transparency to the public about the direction the town would like to go, and everything from housing, economic development, transportation, natural cultural resources, open space, town services, land use. Anybody else impressed that I named all of those? So it's also a great chance to bring everybody together, get on the same page with the committees, boards, departments, and write something that hopefully the whole town could be proud of. So we're excited to start this journey. Something I want to spend more time on is the timeline, because it's both long but quick at the same time. So there's a big expectation for us to get a lot done in every one of these meetings so we can finish on time. We have a little bit of a deadline with the one-stop funds that need to be done by June, so I would say May. other than that, I think it's important to get it done in a timely fashion so we don't run out of speed and you have some energy left to implement the plan. So in the presentation that Chris sent over, you could see what I'm looking at for every CDAC agenda. This, of course, is subject to change as we're looking at a year and a half out. But it'll be important to cover all these topics in order so we finish on time. You could see if, for instance, I'll tell you right now, December 24th is probably not going to happen, right? But if we plan in advance for how we can still get this done and hopefully see what we're working towards, that should be helpful. So next meeting, we're looking at the survey. So in advance, I'll send through Chris and Jeremy a draft survey. And in this meeting, we'll talk about any last minute changes to it and how we could all help market the survey to make sure it gets out to. Perfect. We could go to, I think, slide 3 is the timeline.
Share real quick.
Sure. So we'll use next month's meeting to confirm the survey and talk about how we'll get it out to as many people as we can. Meeting after in April, we'll be right into workshop prep, looking at how we can make a fun party that also gives you all the information we don't have so far about what the Warren residents would like to see for the future vision. May, really hoping we could fit a workshop in, which we'll get to later, but then right in June we get to the vision statement, which will be a whole block. It might take some time to get the vision statement good, but it's important before we start on our end with plan development. And then from July 2024 to January 2025, we'll be spending one session on each chapter. So starting with housing, my goal for this is, now that we have some sense of which month will be which topic, we can invite everybody that needs to be here for that specific topic, not necessarily need to come to every meeting, but bringing people that are interested in housing to the July meeting. On my end, I'll bring the person writing the housing chapter, and we'll have some time to just talk about what needs to be a priority for that chapter. So that'll be ongoing discussions for that half a year, but then in November, we'll start getting some homework, unfortunately, for the committee, bringing some draft chapters to you all to send comments remotely, but also have some time in these meetings to go over any big problems or small tweaks that we should talk about as a group. So it's going to be quick for these meetings, and I'm hoping to spend about half an hour, 45 minutes a month on the master plan, not keep up the whole meeting, because I know you have a lot more on the agenda. But hopefully this gives you a sense of the pace. I think it's also helpful to note that I could be available not during these meetings for any individual discussions, talking with any stakeholders. I'm happy to give as much time as possible to that. Any questions on the timeline?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. So we do have this caveat on the side. We're not funded yet for phase 2. That grant opens in March. I think it's due around April, May.
Who's this through? What grant?
EEA.
Executive Office of Environmental Affairs?
Yeah. So that's a planning assistant grant. We already have the grant written out. We just have a few more tweaks that I could talk to Jim about on the town side. But that's ready to go. We just held off until this year to kind of match our timeline of flowing into 2025. So that'll be the last 3 chapters: land use, natural and cultural resources, and open space and recreation, and a few more dollars to just finish up the plan and make it look appealing.
For those of us here, do you think you could just mention what the 9 categories are and the ones that we're going to be
Sure.
working on and the ones that the EEOA is going to be?
Yep. So phase 1 is funded through One Stop for Growth, which is a state funding program, and that covers housing, economic development, transportation, town services, and I think one more.
But they kind of, the grants
That's it.
overlap, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we will be going through phase 1 funding until May 2025, and we would expect these phase 2 funding, if awarded, to come in November 2024.
These 9 categories are brought to us by the state, right, of Massachusetts. That so all master plans that are done throughout the state have these 9 specific categories that are to be addressed. we're gonna get through more than half of them, and we'll get the rest of it through future funding. But
Yep.
the important ones are the economic development and the public facilities.
Chris,
Now, they're all
equally
important. Okay.
important.
Yeah, open space and recreation, is that, oh, no.
That's on the EDA
That's the
grant.
second one, okay,
Yep.
all right, all right.
We left the ones that have to do most with the environment for the environmental affairs to fund.
Mhm.
Cool. So yeah, this has us finalizing in September 2025. Cool. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, I'm doing great on time. Expectations. I think I'd like to open this up to discussion with the committee on how you'd like to handle kind of these meetings, what you want CMRPC to do on the back end and look to you for approval versus what you'd like to be a discussion. We have a lot of our towns do it in different ways based on the capacity of the committee. And honestly, just your interest in going in depth or kind of doing more offline in the meetings and then coming back to approve things. So I think we'll kind of figure out a jive of, what works best, but what I'm assuming will work is going over those strategy meetings first and then coming back with the draft chapters. If you're looking to have more of a say and kind of slow down that process, go more in depth, have longer meetings, that's also something we could do. In other towns, we'll do writing out every single goal and strategy for the chapters as a group, rather than CMRPC writing them and coming back for tweets and edits and additions. So I guess that's what's on the table is we could go further into the chapters or have the higher level strategy meetings and then fix things and add things at the end.
You guys, any feelings on that?
I think you're the experts, and I think I'd rather have you start the higher level, and you have the experience doing it. I think that'd be, from my point of view, would be a better idea, because we're learning as we go along here, and we can always tweak it, but at least you've done it, you know best practices, and that's what I would be supportive of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go with that too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep communication open with everything we decide, and nothing will get approved without this committee. But that should help us get to that timeline. Cool, that works.
You may find that this committee will come across some decisions that we feel is worthwhile to kick it up to the Board of Selectmen as needed,
Yes.
This group is an advisory committee by its, by what's been established actually by the Board of Selectmen. So, I mean, there will be certain things that we may want to take a pause and kick it up to the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen.
Absolutely, that's certainly appropriate. I think the first thing I'm looking for from the committee is people your networks, especially in the next few weeks, months, the spring. We're going to be doing the survey and workshop back to back. And that's, I think, the part of this plan that I'm least helpful at is getting people from Warren to fill out the survey and go to the workshop as a stranger. So I think that's going to be a huge role of the committee in the spring. And then, yes, I'll be looking to facilitate those strategy discussions, read the draft chapters, and then lead the public comment period at the end of the plan. So those are the major town roles. CMRPC will be conducting stakeholder interviews, which we're about halfway done with that, developing the survey, developing promotional materials for the survey, developing the workshop based on what this committee thinks is appropriate for Warren, what will work well, and then bringing our people to facilitate the workshop. We usually bring about 10 or 12 to make it a big party. And then we'll be writing a community engagement summary, helping you craft the vision statement, doing data collection, which is done, leading chapter narrative and data analysis, doing mapping, which is done, visualizing the plan so you have a document but also an interactive web page, and leading non-chapter elements, so the introduction, chapter summaries, overall design, and of course being here with all you on Wednesday. One thing I wanted to bring up, I'll just do it now before I forget, because I thought about it in the car. It was brought up at the select board meeting, the potential of having a master plan website and Facebook page that would be led by CMRPC but kind of spread out through the town. So I wanted to bring that up because it is something we budgeted for, if this is a request. I'd say there's pros and cons to either. We've done it both ways with master plans, where sometimes CMRPC will have a domain for a web page, we'll design it, we'll update it, and we'll also run a Facebook page to put the event out, to give updates. I think it's great for transparency. We could add a little bit more fluff for residents that are curious about getting into what is a master plan, who are we. I think the cons are, since it's a domain CMRPC owns, it won't be there forever. It's might be confusing for some residents that are used to trusting the town pages to have this other page. So I think I could see both ways, but it is an option if it's something that would help support-wise. I'll put that up now.
I don't think either of those is a problem,
Okay.
No,
right? I mean,
no,
No.
because we're not gonna need it once this is done,
Mhm.
no.
right? So, yeah.
Certain legacy aspects could be maintained in some fashion, I would imagine, as a
Sure.
a PowerPoint or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So is the Facebook page, is it gonna allow comments?
Ooh.
Well,
We
you get into
usually-
these fights on Facebook, and
Yeah.
so
Oh, yes.
Right.
it would be better to.
As your master plan consultant, I love comments. I love to hear from all residents. So we usually have comments open.
Okay,
You're gonna be policing it though, in case of inappropriate comments and?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, not saying it's gonna happen, but,
Well,
And for questions about that, CMRPC does have a policy that we follow as a state,
Yeah.
kind of, not really agency, about when it's appropriate, free speech-wise, to delete comments versus stay. We would have the same as a town page.
okay,
good.
okay,
yeah.
So we could go ahead with that?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Look out for this, folks, warrenmasterplan.com.
Mhm.
All right. Yes.
Comments, questions?
Sure. I hate that we're so far apart. Let's see. I'll go into the other thing in this presentation is a link to a Dropbox.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping to update that with all the materials that we'll be using. That's where you'll find your homework when that comes to be. And that will also link to the website now that we're gonna make it. So that's also accessible to residents. So that's that link here. And I think that's everything that was in this presentation.
Yeah.
We can go into when a potential workshop could be. So I want to talk more about this in April, about what the workshop will look like, what will be included. But just to get a date on the calendar, I mentioned May, which is a tricky month. We have Memorial Day weekend, 25th, 27th, Mother's Day, the 12th. And then with CMRPC, we have some conflicts on the first week and the third week. So I was thinking potentially a date between the 18th and the 31st.
You want a Saturday, right? Is that what?
It could be a Saturday, or we've done it like after work, like a 5 to 8 situation.
I don't know, what do you think?
We could change the time of our regular CDAC meeting on the 22nd.
I don't know, would a Saturday? be
I
better?
can't, I can't do the 22nd. I'll be coming back from England, so
Okay.
Whoa.
that's the day I fly back.
Hmm.
So,
So wait, when are you gone? Are you gone for 2
I'm
weeks?
leaving the 14th, Tuesday the 14th, and coming back Wednesday
Oh,
the
okay.
22nd.
Okay. How about the 29th?
I'm fine with the 29th.
I missed that one.
Okay.
The 29th?
I'm easy, that's fine.
So we'll postpone our CDAC meeting
Yeah.
1 week and make it a combined,
Yeah.
Or just
Okay.
do master plan.
or just pass
Yeah,
on
just-
the.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
just do master
All
plan.
right.
So the 29th?
Because, yeah. And do like 5 to 8 or something?
In-
How
in
much
this-
time?
Yeah, I was gonna say with the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
So 5 to 8.
What's the audience, Sarah?
Of the workshop?
Yeah,
Everybody that we can get from Warren.
so senior
Senior
center?
center.
Senior center, yeah.
Yeah.
For location?
Yeah, that usually works out very well.
I'll check with Sharon for you, the
Thank
director.
you. Perfect. Yeah, we could
Because then
put
we
that.
could do like coffee and.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kitchen and stuff.
yeah, that's set up for it.
Perfect.
Food, a lot of space there.
Steve will cook
Nice.
dinner for us.
I will.
Yeah, okay.
Cannoli.
I'll have my girlfriend make crab rangoon.
Oh, that
We've had
sounds
committees
awesome.
serve dinner before.
Yeah, she
Not to
sure
raise
does.
the bar. Awesome, thank you. I'll put that in tentative until the senior center okays,
Yeah,
but
to-
that'll
Yeah.
be helpful for us. Awesome. Another thing I want to shout out, I'll say this is your first homework actually. Chris has been helping me with a list of stakeholders that we should get in touch with one-on-one to talk about their involvement right out the gate. So I have like committee chairs, department heads, people with formal titles in town. What would also be interesting if you have people that might not necessarily have a role but are passionate about Warren, would love to talk to us in any way, shape, or form. Maybe community leaders, religious, nonprofit leaders, people in the schools, anybody with a network that would have a pulse on a group of people would be really helpful to us.
I recognize I've been delinquent in that task.
You're
I'll
good.
get back to it. I think I'll consult with these folks offline and enhance that list and get that to you shortly.
Perfect. Cool. And honestly, I think that's all I had.
Look at
Yeah.
that, cruising right through.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Do you have a list of people you've already talked to that you
Yeah.
could send out, like email out, just so we can look at it and say, oh, wait, what about, somebody?
Yeah,
Sure.
um,
I'll add it to the Dropbox.
Okay,
perfect.
yeah.
Any questions, comments, anyone on the master plan so far? No?
What's the goal, a percentage goal for your survey?
Percent of the
Yeah,
population?
yeah,
Response
full,
rate.
100%.
You're not gonna get that, but.
15,
15 is high.
that would be
Yeah,
high.
very
Okay,
high.
10%, it would be about, well,
That's where we could start making
50
findings,
people.
yeah.
right.
But I
mean,
mean, if
that
it's
part
on
is-
Facebook, people may click on the link.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know?
When do you have to have it by the survey?
So we'll start the survey after next month's meeting, as far as it's confirmed, and we usually keep it running for the workshop in case anybody hasn't taken it as a last push. We'll close it early June.
Okay. The reason I said that, was the town meeting, maybe there'll be opportunities
True.
to set up a booth at the town meeting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not till
June.
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 I can
What
tell-
date in June?
I'll tell you.
We could set a table up as people come in.
13th.
Yeah, we could keep it open till then.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's such a important.
Mhm.
yeah, that would be a good thing.
So I think we,
Also, could
We have it at town elections too.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
gonna say.
oh, that's even great.
Yeah.
We could leave them at the polling place, so that's gonna be in the gymnasium here.
Is that May 7th?
Yes.
Perfect. And yeah, so we'll
Wait,
have
I
the
have the
survey and,
14th. Is it the 7th?
The 7th.
Seventh.
Oh, well.
so we could have
Rich,
the,
you're late to your own
Yeah,
election.
I'm glad we talked about this.
Yeah, really.
So we could have the survey there in digital and print and an ad for our workshop. That'd
Perfect,
be
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
so just to reiterate,
Mm-hmm.
the survey is the tool, the primary tool in which residents are gonna have the opportunity to share what they think is
It's
the
very
vision.
important.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Yep.
So if you'd like to just expand upon that a little bit, I mean, what are typical responses? What is it, 100 questions, 50?
Oh my God.
Get it done a
I
little
hope
bit.
not.
Yeah, I hope it's not that big.
I want people to
I'm
actually
trying to
take
set
it.
you up here, so, you know.
Well, Warren's in a great place where you've done a lot of planning, so we have a basis and we could go a little bit more in depth. Like sometimes we ask a question, I'll use housing for an example. What kind of housing do you want to see in what areas? What areas of town do you think need more housing? And I love the qualitative questions. Tell us a story. Like, do you have somebody in your life that's struggling with housing? Like things like that that would give us a better understanding of where people are coming from instead of like maybe a little moderate questions. I like the deeper ones. We'll also ask level of satisfaction with town facilities and services. We'll ask what kind of businesses you'd like to see and a similar, like, and where should they go in town? Question?
Are you gonna have this by name? I mean, when you do the survey, it's gonna have a name?
Do you mean if it's anonymous or not?
Yeah.
We typically don't ask for a name, but we'll have an email. That's an optional. You could add your email if you want us to tell you, hey, this is
By
what the workshop
experience, I
is.
found out that if people are not showing their face, they'll write really bad stuff.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be a little bit of democracy.
Yeah, that's everything.
But yeah, we usually do a digital survey and then have print options at places like Senior Center, Library, or if there's anywhere else in town that you think folks that would prefer paper survey frequent. And then we really count on network of the town to get as many people in, 'cause I don't know them. Hey,
We can send it in town alert too.
a
That
town alert?
actually takes the whole town at once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, if that's appropriate.
yeah.
Yeah, we can use that to announce like the workshop and anything else.
Awesome.
The best thing with that is no one can comment back.
Yeah, it's a push.
It's just a message out,
It's
yeah,
a push to
information.
everyone's phone who's registered.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Good one. Got it?
Anything else?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Stop sharing.
So let's do, moving on, other grant programs, any updates? Chris, do you want to jump in on this, or?
Sure, we'll just go right down the list. Municipal vulnerabilities preparedness. So, the state recently approved the plan that was submitted to them several months ago. And now our team from Central Mass Regional Planning Commission is reaching out to see if communities wish to pursue an action grant through the MVP. And something called MVP 2. Do you know anything about
2.0?
MVP 2? 2.0? Yeah. Why don't you, can you give us a little enlightenment on MVP 2?
I don't work with them specifically, but I know it's a revamp of the same program that focuses more on the community engagement aspect, trying to get as many voices in. So there's a lot more push on the project rather than the traditional one is kind of more town stakeholders.
Yeah.
This one is almost community organizing, building a more powerful resident group to talk about hazards.
Okay, so for those that don't know, Municipal Vulnerabilities Preparedness is a state initiative trying to prepare communities for impacts associated with climate change. We've all seen the extreme weather, you know, here we have 60, 70 degrees in February. All this stuff is kind of new to me. It wasn't the way I was growing up, so these are definitely changes that we are seeing. And they are trying to prepare communities for these impacts. And we did the planning study, now we, part 2 is
Part
now
2.
available,
Yeah.
as well as action grants. Action grants are actually funding for physical projects that address some of these things. So CMRPC has availed themselves to the town should they wish to pursue any of those future initiatives. Open space and recreation planning. The open space and recreation plan was recently completed and accepted by the state. Lays out some of the priorities in terms of open space and recreation through the town. That plan helped to lead to a project at Lucy Stone Park. So Tim O'Brien has been spearheading some improvements down there with the help of the highway department. Jeremy, do you have any?
We're pretty much set up to finish the installation. They have the, basically signboards, informational stuff. We're just kind of waiting for the weather to consistently be decent, so we can pour concrete and lock everything in place and kind of finish that project up, so.
And they recently received the funding to prepare informative, what are we calling this? Interpretive signage,
Yeah.
which is actually, they look terrific. They'll be installed in the spring. If you go down there, you take a walk along the paths that are there, and you can see some of the native species that have been planted and get some background on it, and have a stroll and check it out this spring. They're doing some terrific work down there.
It's really nice.
It's a wonderful park. Massachusetts One Stop for Growth. Last year, the One Stop for Growth program, it's a state program, funded a new water line on Prospect Street and this master plan. That's a one-stop initiative. The water main on Prospect Street has been installed, and paving is going to occur by the Highway Department this year. I've been working with the town administrator and others, and we're beginning to examine what could be possible projects for this year's One Stop for Growth program, and that grant application is due in June. So One Stop for Growth is this concept. The state says, we have all these different state departments. Let's put them under one umbrella, and all the different programs that are offered through these state departments, planning, housing initiatives, public facilities and infrastructure, a number of different things are under this umbrella, and you just got to find out which particular department will meet the needs of whatever initiative that the town feels is a priority, and pursue it. So, we're looking at different things, a couple infrastructure projects Mr. Ferrer and I have discussed. I think we're going to continue looking at different things and see if we could not put together another application for this June. Complete streets. This is something Mr. Olson, the Highway Department, has been working on with a colleague in our office to examine if we could not receive funding from Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT, for a Complete Streets initiative. What might be an example of a possible complete street initiative?
Basically setting up safer commute on, say, Main Street, maybe doing some better crosswalks, stuff like that. Repainting and restructuring certain roads for better parking, possible bike travel, pedestrian travel, expanding upon sidewalks. There's a multitude of things that this program touches upon, but it's mostly about safety of transportation of people. So it doesn't necessarily mean cars, it doesn't necessarily mean bikes, and it doesn't necessarily mean pedestrians. It's all of them transporting down the roadways together as safe as possible. So it's a lot of signage, a lot of line painting, surface work, and like I said, sometimes construction, new sidewalks, new road surfaces.
So I understand that there was sort of like a mini certification process you had to go through with the
Yep.
state, and now you are
I'm
approved as,
certi-
okay, terrific. So that's something that Mr. Olson is working on with other colleagues in the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission. See if we could not put together a project for that. Green Communities, another colleague in our office is working with Mr. Ferrara on the Green Communities Initiative.
So I do have an update for the board on the green communities. Just today, we had, I brought in Chris Collins, Industries. He's got he's a preferred vendor off of the state list, an expedited vendor for green communities. And we looked at weatherization down at the senior center, weatherization in this building. We looked at heat pumps, possibly down at the senior center, and some improvements of HVAC down at the senior center as well. We're working on that, as well as some major weatherization stuff here at the Shepherd Building. So the basis for some of the longer buildings like that we anticipate having occupied for a longer period of time is start with complete weatherization, then go into HVAC, then go into roofing, making sure the roof is secure, windows, et cetera, and so forth. So green communities can address some of the weatherization and the upgrades to HVAC if on some of the types of units that they have, such as heat pumps, to see if it's a possibility.
So again, this is a grant program
Yeah.
through the Massachusetts Department of Energy and Resources.
Yep.
And is there a match, or is it all just 100% grant funded?
Well, right now, there's a up to $200,000 we could get, per grant cycle. We just finished one last year. We just finished our last grant with the Warren Community Elementary Center with Guardian. This year, we wanted to look at, for the spring, potentially some of our municipal buildings, looking at the senior center, looking at this building to try to address some of those needs. So then, once this project's completed, then maybe we could do another project, more with the schools again, try to give each building a fair shake or a shot at some opportunity.
Wonderful, thank you. The next initiative, some time ago, last year, year before, some colleagues, again at CMRPC, helped the town and Mr. Ferreira seek funding through the federal Economic Development Administration to do an analysis on what are some of the impediments to getting Wright's Mill developed. What are some things that the town can do to help facilitate an interested developer of that property, involving, the analysis of the infrastructure there within West Warren and townwide, and might be some of the housing issues and so on and so forth. So the town did indeed receive a $300,000 grant to do a planning study in that area, and Mr. Ferreira put together an RFP and has recently hired a consultant.
Yep, we've hired Weston and Sampson engineers. They're going to be doing the consulting work for the project and coming up with the Wrights Mills Master Recovery Plan. And hopefully that project should be wrapped up by June of next year.
Wonderful.
When is it gonna kick off?
We already had the
We
kickoff
kicked off already.
in January.
Right, okay. When's it, I guess, when's the actual work start, or they already?
Oh, they've already started.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I imagine we'll be hearing a little bit more of that. As
They have check-ins, as needed. They check in with me on some things, and they'll check in with some of the contacts down in the sewer and highway, water districts. They've contacted some of the infrastructure down there. Some of the people, the watchmen at the Wrights Mills bill list. They've been in touch with him as well. So they're doing some coordination. I know that the people from the Wrights have been more than welcoming to them to have access to, so that they can, use some of the data that they have down there to share.
Okay, just telling everyone, it is a privately owned facility,
Mhm.
so there are limitations,
Right.
regarding actually getting on the site.
Right.
It's really up to the private owners.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But they have been cooperative with, working around some of the infrastructure and sharing some information that would be helpful to completing this plan. So again, it's based upon the infrastructure around the place, but it's to the town's interest and to the community's interest to get, some development there.
Excellent. So before I get on to the CDBG, which is within my domain, one of the last programs I'll mention is our office, Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, runs a regional program focused on accessibility with funding provided through the Massachusetts Office of Disability. So with these funds, the town was able to hire a consultant that is presently, right now as we speak, moving to different areas of the community, all the public facilities in the town, to analyze what are some of the non-compliance issues surrounding accessibility. So the person's looking at the parks, the public buildings, and what are some of the issues regarding having ADA access and then it's called a transition plan. So the idea is this plan will identify what are some of the deficiencies or some of the non-compliant issues and develop a plan to transition into compliance over time. So it's not out there, oh, you gotta do this right away. No, the idea is to transition over a period of time to address, and it's not only just physical things, but it's services as well. So it's the physical public facilities and the services that are taking place. So this study is happening right now with a consulting firm, Center for Living and Working, and they're working with the town officials to complete that.
We're having our kickoff tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful.
And are there grants once you're done with the process here?
Certainly, accessibility issues can be addressed through, Community Development Block Grant Program. The Massachusetts Office of Disability also has another grant program that will address some of the physical issues. So, yeah, there are a number of different grants out there that can help address accessibility. So,
Yeah, ADA plan opens you up to a lot.
yep,
Definitely an updated one.
so. Any questions on the things I just went over?
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
The Wright study that's going on, what's their main, is it housing mainly for?
No, it could be a component of it, you know, you know, they're gonna be, you know, putting together some ideas. It could be housing, it could be,
Right.
you know, some type of, you know, business use like manufacturing, you know, something like that.
The primary focus is how does the town support anything that goes in there?
Right,
We can't tell them what to put in,
right.
but we can say, do we have enough sewer, do we have enough water, what do our roads look like?
Right.
You know, that sort of thing.
But I think
If
in-
housing went in, do we have enough capacity in the schools?
But didn't they try to put housing in years ago and it was turned down there?
It would, again, that, yeah.
So again, as
That's
Rich-
not really part of this.
As Rich was saying, I think the consult, we'll come up with some concepts of what
Mhm.
could potentially go in the Wrights Mill, but
Sure.
that's entirely up to the owner
Right.
and any future developer. But what we're focused on is, okay, does the sewer commission, do they have adequate facilities to accept any effluent or sewage that would come from any proposed development? What are the turning radiuses, you know, in and around, say if the truck traffic was to emerge? What would be the impacts of truck traffic? You know, well, how about the water supply? Are we getting adequate water supply from the water district to serve whatever might go in there? So what are the things that the town can address to make it, you know, attractive for a future developer? So that's our role, not determining actually what precisely goes into the mill.
Well, have any of the owners proposed anything so far?
Not so much.
No.
They just want to sell it to a developer, is my understanding. Is that right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
currently for sale as far as I know.
What was it, $8 million or something like
Something
that?
like that,
Yeah.
So the current owner, to my understanding, I don't know him, really haven't had any discussions with him, but they really just want to sell it to a developer, and who knows what a developer might do.
So if it doesn't sell in the timeline that this company, what was it again? That's, the company that's looking into the,
Weston and Sampson?
yeah, so if it doesn't sell in that timeline, then what happens?
We don't think it will sell within that, well, it might, we
You
have
never
no,
know.
but the idea, again, one more time, the planning study with Weston and Sampson engineers
Right.
and their planning consultants is to work with the town and say, well, here are some of the things that need to be improved or addressed. That
To
might-
attract.
That might attract a developer, you know, oh,
Yeah.
we visited your sewer treatment plant, and, you know, it's got X amount of capacity remaining, or, yes, there.
I'm gonna put it the other way. Let's say I'm that constructor, right? And I go there, I wanna buy it, I said, what can I do here? Can I put housing?
No.
Can I put a hospital? Can I put this? That
Yeah.
study is gonna give the answers to that person.
Yeah. Yeah, it just paints a bigger picture of what we're capable of handling. So, hey, bring your business to our community, look at the upgrades we've done to our community to help support you, and have your business come here. And that's ultimately what this plan is all about.
And if there's deficiencies that are noted in the report, just like any planning grant that Chris had mentioned, you know, there'll be opportunities once we complete this federal grant. This is a federal grant. You know, the feds would allow maybe some funding opportunities to address some of the deficiencies in the infrastructure that we would need to make the improvements on in order to potentially attract a developer.
Yeah, this just opens us up to more money, more funding. Which is
What
never a
about-
bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Any other questions? Yeah?
one of the problems last time around when the building was discussed for housing was the town's adverse reaction to more people and its effect on schools and other personal needs like that the town might not be happy to offer. And so there may be a way of rearranging that thinking. I think it's anti-progressive. If you don't want to have the idea of housing, that's kind of too bad, I think. But is there a way to offer or support the idea of housing despite the concern for what would it add to the school burden?
Well, I think there would be, Ms. Buck, and, you know, when you say housing, housing's a very broad term.
Sure.
So, you know, there could be, you know,
Upscale apartments
there
or
could be
not?
55 and older community, there could be veterans housing, there
Yep.
could be, you know, market rate, you know, there's a whole host of different housing opportunities, so, you know, maybe, you know, they will look at, you know, a developer would look at what the market would, you know, would bring, and this report could look at, you know, what infrastructure the town has already in place that would support one of those categories, maybe, or what we could do to, you know, ramp up some support that would attract some of those, you know, potential categories.
I was in contact with the Center of Hope in Southbridge one time, last time around, that there was interest in trying to develop something in that property. And I asked if they would have any interest in renting some of the property for their programs. And they said, well, we might have. So there's a possibility. They are a great organization, and they have a lot going for them, and that's a possibility that they might be enticed further westward, as they said.
So it's, good stuff. Derek, you had something you were gonna say?
Yeah, that's basically what we're trying to do with the master plan, with all these studies, and trying to, you know, see what we can do. Is like, think about like your own house. You know, you look at your house and it says, what do I need? I have a baby coming in, so I'm gonna need a new room, but the boiler is about to explode, so I think I have to fix that first, right? Then I can think about building a bigger, an extra room for that. So we are looking for those answers. Without this, all these master plan and studies, we don't have an answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything
else?
Can any of this be impacted by the federal government not funding themselves this year?
I'm waiting to see how that shakes out myself by this Friday,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine there could be potential impacts
So
regarding.
that could, in essence, put a stop to this master plan.
Well, it's
And-
funded
I think that's
already.
funded, yeah.
It's already
Yeah.
funded, they can't take the money
So
away.
that can go forward, but sections of it coming up couldn't?
No, the
Future
whole thing's
funding.
funded. It
Yeah,
would be
future funding.
after it's done, then we would need funding for additional
For additional.
projects. But that's gonna be pretty far in the future, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah, that'd
study
be-
lasts,
That would be after, you know, June of '25.
so hopefully.
Yeah. So hopefully
Figured all
things are
that out.
moving by then,
We'll hope.
hopefully. Anything else, anyone? You guys? No?
So on to CDBG?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, CDBG, that's my domain, that's my realm, that's the Community Development Block Grant Program. So oddly enough, I am curious to see how a potential federal shutdown might impact the Community Development Block Grant Program. Community Development Block Grant is a HUD, it's a federal program, okay? And each and every year, Congress appropriates money to distribute CDBG funds nationwide. The vast majority of these funds go to what we call entitlement cities. These are typically cities of 50,000 or more, and they get monies automatically by a formula by HUD to address their community development issues. And we're talking cities like Boston, Worcester, Springfield, Holyoke, and so on and so forth that get these funds automatically. And then after the entitlement cities get their funds, another portion goes to state government. And in this case, it's the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Now they offer a competitive grant program to smaller cities and towns such as Warren. And Warren's been very, very successful in obtaining grant funding, CDBG grant funding, for a good 20 years, almost annually. We've been able to secure funds, community development block grant funds, to address a variety of issues of planning, design, construction, parks, and so on and so forth. You know, as an example, over the years, we got money to expand the senior center. We got funds to redo Dean Park, and then just a plethora of different streets and the water lines and whatever have you throughout both Warren and West Warren Village. So right now, I'm going to talk about 3 particular federal fiscally funded years and things that are going on with the town of Warren. The first FY, federal year, 21, brought us funds to redo the water line and reconstruct a retaining wall on School Street. Okay, that School Street, it was a big project, and because the needs of School Street were so big, you can only get so much every year through CDBG. So in the phase 1, we did the water line and reconstructed a retaining wall necessary for safety purposes up there. And that project is substantially complete right now. And so it looks kind of messy because that was just phase 1, okay? So the FY, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities actually combined two fiscal years into 1 year to catch up. So the FY 22-23 offered a larger grant, and that's phase 2 of School Street. That's going to completely redo the road surface, the stormwater drainage system. There's a little sewer work that needs to be done, and redo the sidewalk. It's been funded. We have it in hand, so I'm not worried about that because the project's been funded, okay? We hope to bid that out shortly. I think within the next month. I've been talking to the engineer, and we're looking at bidding that project out next month, and that's phase 2 of School Street. Now, before I get onto the FY24, I want to just say other things that are interacting with CDBG is this One Stop for Growth, okay? So last year, we got funds for Prospect Street to do that water main. So School Street and Prospect Street with different funding, each received new water lines. And we got, because we bid things together, we got a good bid, and we were able to add Richardson Street to that. So Richardson, School, and Prospect all have new water mains. Now this next coming year, CDBG is going to be doing School Street. The Highway Department's going to be doing Prospect and Richardson. And we were recently funded through the One Stop to do Otis Street. So this is going to be a big construction year in what we call the School Street neighborhood. And after years of planning and design, it's largely going to be complete. And it's going to be a mess up there this year. So those that are watching, be aware. We're bidding out School Street Phase 2 along with Otis Street. And then the highway's going to address Prospect and Richardson. There's going to be a lot of activity this coming year in the School Street neighborhood through CDBG, One Stop for Growth, Highway, Chapter 90 funds, and what have you. A lot of work going on up there. So that's happening with CDBG right now. So I'm also working with the town to develop an FY24. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one thing. Also funded as part of the FY22 and 23 is the Town Common Design Project. We formed a committee. We're waiting to put together an RFP that will hire a consultant to redesign that town common. And there's going to be plenty of opportunity for the town to participate in how they see the future of the town common shaping up. It's just design. We don't have any funds for construction right now. So this year will be the opportunity for the committee and town residents to weigh in and how they see the future of the town common. I know we got Mrs. Buck to participate. We got people on this Community Development Advisory Committee. We got people on the Parks Department. So we got people throughout all the different town departments that are going to actively participate in the development of this RFP to hire a consultant and overseeing the design of that particular project, the Town Common Design. Very exciting.
Yes.
Any questions so far?
Do you think that timeline matches with our workshop to do a dual
I think so. We'll try to do them up as much as we can, right? So yeah, certainly. I think I've been trying to talk to Jim and determine, the best sort of request for proposals that we could put together that is going to bring in the best consultant for this particular project. So someone with experience that's done town common designs, that has a historical preservation background. And so, there are a lot of important factors in putting together this request for proposals that's going to bring in the best consultant for this particular project. Okay. So, on to FY24. I've been working with this committee and other departments throughout the town, and we have identified work in West Warren. So for years, we used to flop between Warren and West Warren with CDBG projects, but we got caught up in the School Street neighborhood, and that's just about done. So now we're going to go back to West Warren, and we identified River Street and Central Street as priority projects for the next CDBG application. So as part of the River Street project, we're going to put in a new water main, if funded. The application's due on March 25th. We'll know if that's funded in this summer. The idea is we hope to get a new water line for River Street, some stormwater drainage improvements, and because the road's going to be all torn up after that, new road surface.
Yep.
So that's River Street. And the CDBG grant budget is also going to allow for design and installation of a water main on Central Street. Now, unfortunately, there's not adequate budget in this grant application that we'll be putting forward to reconstruct all of Central Street. So Central Street will have to be a phased initiative. So we'll get the design done, we'll put in the water line, we'll have to leave it with a trench patch, and then in another grant with other sources, whatever might be available, we'll reconstruct the Central Street with new sidewalks, drainage, and street surface. Okay, so that's the physical project. But the other project in the FY24 application that's going to be advancing is design of Cutter Park. We've been looking at the parks for years now, and Cutter Park is here, centrally located right in our center. The equipment is old. There's a need for a property survey. We know that fortunately, people have been able to park there, but it's not town-owned, so we'll look at parking. The Parks Commission also would like to see some sort of water feature there, maybe a pickleball court. So we'll see. So that's going to be the grant application, is design for Cutter Park. Again, the specific elements aren't determined yet. That will be part of the design effort. So hopefully with the design in hand, that will give us a good leg up for pursuing funding, whether it's from future CDBG funds or perhaps maybe even the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation. So we've got a lot going on. This application is due March 25th. And again, we'll know if it's funded in the summer, and we'll do some sort of startup in the fall. Okay, that's the CDBG efforts that we've got going on. Any questions? Yes, sir, Derek.
Chris, I really would like to thank your domain. It's greatly appreciated, all what you do for the town. Thank you very much.
Gosh, it's a team effort, if you notice, I've been saying this colleague, that colleague, and we got so many people over at the CMRPC with each different skill sets. We got our transportation section, we've got our green team and our blue team, and people with resiliency planning and physical planning. So it's really been a team effort at Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, and we're just delighted to be working with the town of Warren. I love it here, and I think my colleagues are becoming to enjoy it as well. So.
Keep coming back.
So there's going to be a public hearing on March 7th regarding the proposed FY24 CDBG application, and that will be with the Board of Selectmen. Final opportunity for people to weigh in on that grant application before it's put forth. Our Community Development Advisory Committee typically meets on the fourth Wednesday
Yep.
of each month here in the Selectmen's Meeting Office at 4 p.m. although we might skip one in the future because someone's gonna be away in England. And we're working on it. I think we're just gonna roll into the master plan instead of having a regular, and that's in May.
That's in May.
But we'll meet in March and April
Yeah,
anyways.
absolutely.
So we encourage people to attend these meetings. This is where you find out what's happening, what's going on, and weigh in.
Okay. All right, community development strategy, town priority projects, pretty much we've laid out everything we're kind of doing right now, so I think that's kind of keep rolling forward with the way we're doing it. So bringing in lots of grants and lots of opportunities, discussing a lot of different avenues, and keep it going.
So they had tasked me to help put together a summary. We call it community development strategy. It used to be a requirement of the CDBG program several years ago. They no longer make it a requirement. But we felt it would be important to put together a summary document that sort of lists all the different projects and initiatives that the town feel are important moving forward. So I'm blessed that I've now got the master plan that's going to help me do that, and I'll just summarize whatever they come up with.
Perfect.
Yeah. So.
Piggyback, I like it. Okay, any miscellaneous new business? Anyone?
Nope.
Nope. Anything? All right, plan a next meeting?
It's gonna be March 27th?
27th. Yep, 27th.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just want, Mr. Ferrara here, I just want to make sure we'll need signatures on this CDBG application.
Okay.
And I want to wrap that up, even though it says Monday, the 25th.
Yep.
Probably want to complete this the 21st or the 22nd, you know. So I'll have all the documents prepared for you well in advance.
So we'll have a meeting on the 21st. I could have it signed then,
That would be perfect.
and then I can send it over to you on the 22nd.
That's cutting it close. Is
Okay.
there one before then?
The 14th?
Yeah, 14th would be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and with the, on the 7th being the final.
Right,
meeting
so
for
the
that,
7th, we have
we'll
the
be all set
hearing.
for the-
We
Yeah.
sort of finalize.
Can you get me this stuff by the 5th? I mean, by the 12th, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The 12th, okay. Yep.
Okay, excellent. All right, so,
Motion to adjourn?
second,
Steve Crystal, yes.
all in favor?
Richi Hacker, aye.
Steve Crystal, aye.
Jeremy McKeon, aye.
Chairman Wilson, aye. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.